Welcome to Seattle Public Utilities Ask Evelyn Live, where we answer your questions about recycling, compost, garbage, and other trashy topics. I'm your host, Becca Fong, and this week's episode is Class Act People, Sustainable Back to School. And we have a very special guest this week. Katrina Scarlett from Mary's Place is going to help us get our handle on how to handle this whole back to school business in a more sustainable way. Hey, Pat.
Hey, Becca, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, we're talking school supplies and back to school stuff today, aren't we?
We are talking all about sustainable back to school. So
It is so fun. I love back to school.
I know, right? There's so much cool, fun gear. There can also be a lot of it. Can be a little overwhelming. So I'm super excited that we've got Katrina Scarlett joining us from Mary's Place. Hi, Katrina.
Hello.
Hey, Katrina.
Hi
How
there.
are you guys?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. So Katrina, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. My name is Katrina Scarlett. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Donor Relations and Stewardship Manager at Mary's Place. And for those who may or may not be familiar with Mary's Place, we work with the community to ensure that no child sleeps outside by centering equity and opportunity for women and families. So excited to be here today.
Awesome. I'm so glad you can join us. Mary's Place is a fantastic organization. So I'm excited to have your help answering this week's question and also learning more about the programs you guys offer.
Love the work that Mary's Place does. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. Should I jump right into it?
Absolutely.
Right.
What's our question?
Okay, our question comes into the Ask Evelyn inbox. Hi, Evelyn. I have a bunch of school stuff that I need to get rid of. I have a container full of dried out markers. Can I recycle them? Also, I have 2 backpacks, lunch boxes, and a tablet we used for school but don't need anymore. Where can I donate these items? Thanks, Sandy. Quick answer for Sandy, Becca?
All right. So quick answer. There's certainly a lot of details. Sandy,
There
you've got
is.
a lot of stuff. I can empathize. So quick answer. Markers. People want these to be recyclable so bad. There's so much plastic involved. Unfortunately, these go in the garbage. As far as other used goods, like, a nice new backpack,
Ooh.
you've got lunch boxes, you've got a tablet that's still working, but maybe your kids have aged out of.
Right.
Those things can all be donated, but there's a lot more details to that. So let's get into the details. Pat, do you want to start off with some of the markers and then we'll go to donate?
Yeah, markers like a lot of these, ballpoint pens and stuff. There are companies that make refillables, where you can get the insert. They're not common at all. So if it's not obviously, written on the outside of the marker, it's definitely a single-use disposable, or I should say, one and done disposable. But there's some ballpoint pens and some other art supplies that are refillable and such. So just look for that. Maybe in your purchasing, look for those ones. But there's so many markers out there that all the kids use that are just one and done. Yeah.
All the markers.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so many markers. I get it though, people. There's a lot of plastic here, but sometimes waste happens, and these are something that you're going to use up. And then the best thing to do with them is to dispose of them in the garbage.
Yeah.
So. But the donation, so Katrina, Mary's Place does a big back to school push. So we would love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So at Mary's Place, we currently have 5 shelters throughout King County, which have 700 family members every day. And back to school is both exciting and stressful for everyone. And it can be, really anxiety inducing for kids living in shelter to be able to go back to school when their parents are not really able to have the opportunity to buy new things. So one of the rules of thumb I like to share with people that are wonderful and want to donate some of their gently used items is if it's something like a backpack or clothing that you would wear that you would want your kid to still wear, we would love it. We would love it, and we'd love the opportunity to reuse that and to have our kids sport those in school. But if it's something that's maybe a little bit more loved and not as nice, then it'd say that if your kid wouldn't be comfortable wearing it in the hallways, we'd say the same for ours. We want to make sure that our kids are instilled with as much confidence and personality as possible when they're headed back to school. So that's kind of a good, I think, thing to gauge with when you're thinking of items. Should it be donated? Could someone else use it? Or has this really lived its life? And where else should we take it to at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead, Pat.
So for those items that don't meet that criteria, we all have our thrift stores too. We can take them to Goodwill. This is for all these things: backpacks, clothing, lunch boxes, things like that. There are plastic materials, there are metal materials in lunch boxes, all these, jeans and jackets and coats and things. If it's not, like you say, if it's not in good shape and looking good, and have the child feel proud about this outfit, then definitely Goodwill, because at Goodwill, all these textiles and fabrics are recycled. They have different channels and different commodities. Rather than just reuse as the garment, it can go into a separate fiber marketplace.
Totally. So we've got a question in the chat here. It says, hey guys, I'm a college student, so I tend to end up with a lot of school supplies every year. What are good items to donate? So Katrina, I know you guys are accepting stuff for back to school. I'd love to have your take on school supplies and office supplies, things like that, and then things that you guys are really looking for this season.
Right. Yeah. So in general, we over half of all the guests in shelter that we're serving, our kids are between 0 and 18. So there's about upwards of 300 to 400 kids, teens on any given day. That being said, all those school lists are going to look a little bit different, which is great in the sense that a lot of what you may have is something we can probably use, as long as, like we said, it's new or lightly used. Some of our really high need items right now at the moment would be those nice name brand backpacks, right? Again, instilling that confidence and personalities for our kids. Scientific calculators, expensive, right? So maybe your kid is going off to college or changing grades, or you have a little older one that still works laying around. Those are really great and really big help for our families to get assistance with. Headphones, how often are those lost as well?
So many headphones.
And then scissors, reusable water bottles are great, especially as we do not like to have plastic water bottles in our shelter. We love those reusable ones to go in the backpack going to school. And school planners. School planners are always a big need as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there was a question. I know sometimes with office supplies, you might have some notebooks that have been kind of used a little bit. And it sounds like we really want to make sure that stuff that goes to Mary's place is like ready to go, as new as possible. To really set those kids up for success. So
exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'm assuming that you guys have a place on your website where we can find a list of all the different things that you're looking for.
Yes, actually, right. And I think a link may be shared later, but essentially right at marysplaceseattle.org, and you can go and find share your stuff, and you can see a full list there of high need, what we can take, as well as some things that we aren't able to take, and recommendations of where you can go, like Goodwill, for example, huge partnership that we have with them for items that we can't take. And we also work with a lot of smaller organizations to figure out what they might be able to use if we can't use it at the moment.
Totally. That's awesome. So
what about like furniture? What about things like that? What about like a desk or, some, organizers, things like the larger like desk, organizer equipment, things like that.
Great question. So one of the things that I think isn't often maybe thought about a lot is that not only when families are coming into shelter after they've lost their homes, they've lost nearly all of their possessions.
Right.
And so when they do move back into housing, they're really starting over and starting fresh. So moving into a home is wonderful and it's an exciting day, but having it feel like a home can take a while, and buying all of those items again can take a while. So if you have items that are in good condition, you don't need anymore, like a desk, like a bed frame, a dresser. We have this amazing program called Make a Home, where we have a great coordinator who works with individuals, or if you have a group that you want to come together and actually go and intentionally get stuff for a family, we can connect you to a family who's recently moved into housing and make sure you can really furnish. Maybe it's just one room if that's what you have the capacity for. Maybe it's a whole house if you get together with your community. And for those items, it's really just as long as it's still right in good enough condition, right? Something that doesn't have holes all over the place, but it can still be loved. We can still get great use out of that. That's been a really, really great program to build that home, build that community when families move out of shelter.
Sounds really fulfilling too for the volunteer side, for the
during COVID it was a little hard because we had to figure out how to keep this going with the distance, but we're so excited to be back because that's exactly it. You can come and help move the furniture, engage with families and kind of build that community. So there's just a lot of joy that we found that comes with that coming togetherness and those donations.
Cool. Oh my gosh, so much good stuff. And everybody who's watching, we definitely will have links to the different, locations for donations, things that they're looking for, and ways to get involved with Mary's Place, because they're a fantastic option. And especially as you guys are thinking about back to school stuff, if you have stuff at your home, like Sandy, thank you for your question. I think stuff like, your backpacks, if they're still in good condition, your lunch boxes. It sounds like you guys might even have capacity to take like a working tablet. Katrina, would that be something you guys can take? Definitely go to Mary's Place. We'll look and see what's on their list. Go ahead and take that stuff there. If not, if it's, a little more worn, then you can go ahead and take it to Goodwill. Like Pat, you were saying that they have the capacity to kind of manage stuff that is not in like lightly used condition. So.
Yeah, we talk a lot about thrift stores, but another great source, and this is just for, folks at home who are gearing up for back to school, going to like an antique shop or a shop that has, comic books or something like that. They often have a lot of those cool lunch pails, like a retro one or something, like the old metal ones, like when we were kids, So that's kind of fun. Rather than going to Target or somewhere and getting another brand new lunch pail into the system, go and find one of those classic old ones. It's kind of a fun hunt. And although new stuff is great too. I love getting new stuff, back to school. That was just every year going with my mom, to go get back to school things. Finally, when I graduated high school, I said, Mom, finally college ruled paper. That was kind of fun.
Well, and that same experience, Katrina, you guys are trying to create those for your families, right? That same experience, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to go back to school. And if you guys have lightly used stuff, Sandy, if your stuff's going to fit that bill, any of you watching who'd like to donate to Mary's Place, you guys can create that same exciting feeling that Pat had when he was a kid.
And I'll say too, just a quick plug, if you have the capacity, we also love to accept gift cards, like $20 increments to places like Target, Fred Meyer, Walmart, so that our families can get that experience, right? So that they can. We have our back to school events actually at each of our shelter. That's coming up next week that we're excited about, where we'll take all these incredible donations and our kids will be able to enjoy activities, have food, and basically do shopping at the shelter. But then additionally, we're hoping to equip them each with a gift card to do a little more of their own personal shopping, right? Go pick out that shirt that they really want, something that has Minions on it or whatever that personality is to bring that first day experience together. So if there is that capacity, we are aiming to be able to provide those as well to families in shelter.
That's awesome. That's really great. Sandy, thank you so much for your question. It led us to this fantastic conversation and led us to bring Katrina to share all this great stuff about Mary's Place with you guys. So that's a good reminder too, that this show runs on your questions. So keep them coming, folks. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can send us an email at askevelyn@seattle.gov, because we love to hear from you, because we're always, thinking about new and exciting things and information that we can share, like the markers, people.
Yeah.
You can ask us forever about the markers because they're a little confusing.
I like that to-go food container you got there.
I know, right?
Nice. I see you.
Pad thai by night, marker container by day.
That's right.
All right, folks. Thank you so much. Katrina, thank you so much for joining us. And again, we will share all those great links. It's been fantastic to have you. I hope we have you on again.
Thank you so much, Becca and Pat and everyone else.
Thanks, Katrina.
All right. And with that, folks, I'm Becca Fong, and life's simpler with less stuff.
And I'm Pat Kaufman. Remember to recycle right. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.